That down. Here. That's all the good stuff. Here.
It's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. First business order is roll call.
Right, Commissioner Boltman.
Here.
Commissioner Hedstrom.
Here.
Commissioner Barrett.
Here.
Commissioner Schneider.
Here.
Commissioner Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Move on to approval of the minutes from July 16th, 2026. Amendments in the like to bring in. Motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 16, 2026.
I'll second. It's for an approve. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from our meeting on July 16th, 2026. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Move on to new business, which is none. And move on to old business, which is CUP 26-04, which was tabled in our April meeting due to a variance. And I will give it over to Tim for that.
All right, this was tabled at the April commission meeting at the request of the applicant to address possible changes in specifications involving, as you say, the variance with the city. The applicant applied for and was granted a height variance from the City of Abilene Board of Zoning Appeals in July. Since this location is within the Abilene Airport height restriction area, the variance was required. The applicant is proposing a 305-foot guide telecommunications tower for the purpose of improving cellular coverage in the area. The Federal Communications Commission currently oversees all regulatory requirements for cell tower approval. Municipalities are limited to regulating general structural safety for requirements and setbacks. The commission may recommend safety lighting. The tower will be at least 305 feet from all property lines. Staff has received comments and concerns regarding the location, heights, and the tower, which have been noted. So comments from other departments and agencies. Abilene Municipal Airport, they have no issues except that the location of the tower may impact future runway plans for the facility. As mentioned before, the height variance was granted. Staff is recommending approval with the following conditions: any FAA and FCC approval submitted prior to a building permit being issued, and I believe I already have those in hand. So the commission options would be to approve with the above referenced conditions or approve with any additional conditions as deemed necessary. The applicant has included a site plan, and I've also included a setback aerial for you to show you the setback from the road, from the property lines. And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
And then we need to untable this.
Yeah.
Before we do anything on it.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to untable?
So remove it from the table.
Or remove CUP 26-04 from the table.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to remove CUP 26-04 from the table. Sorry, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The applicant, as I stated, was here if you have any questions. Why was it tabled the first time from April? It needed a variance and the height. So we got that variance. That variance has been approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the representative of the city is verified.
And the distance from the airport is short of 2 miles, is that correct?
That's correct.
The FAA setback requirements.
Back requirements for this, my main project, so that's the CM vertical bridge. The setbacks for this are tower height, so 1 to 1 tower height, so it'd be 305 feet from any property line.
Even for an airport. So what are the primary concerns?
Aesthetics, primarily aesthetic appearance.
Okay,
By the neighbors.
say no comments from pilots and safety operations.
I spoke with Mr. Curtis over at the airport, and he said that the only thing he was really concerned about was it may interfere with their plan in the future to have like an additional runway, which I don't know. I think that Carrie could probably speak to that better than I can. But I think
In the
there's
future.
Anything for that? Not, you gotta open up to the public. Open up to the public, the public can speak to the board during the public hearing portion of any item under discussion. Please raise your hand and after being recognized, give your name and address, and proceed with your questions and comments. Shortly after the applicant presents their case, the planning commission may ask questions of the applicant. The board will discuss those answers. After the board rests, the chair will invite comments from interested persons for, against, or neutral. The board will conduct discussion and take action if possible. Citizens are asked to limit your remarks. Please do not repeat comments already made by previous speakers, and due to the time frame, please limit your remarks to clear and concise statements. The chairman may have to put a limit on number of speakers. The board will attempt to be fair, flexible, and to ensure all those that are interested are heard. All zoning changes, conditional uses, and subdivision proposals will go from this board to the county commissioners with recommendation of approval or denial. All issues heard this evening will go to the county commission after the 14-day appeal period, if applicable. Should you be interested in attending that meeting, please contact the zoning administrator or county clerk for the scheduled hearing date and time. If you wish to file a protest petition, please contact the zoning administrator for the forms needed. The zoning administration or the zoning administrator. The zoning administrator will explain the petition process. Thank you for coming. Your input is always appreciated. With that, I open up for public comment for CP 26-04. Yes.
James, 226 Road. I guess I misunderstood a little bit. So this is approved either way, just whether you have stipulations on it or not. What can we, I guess, stipulate on it? We don't want it at all. Like, and it's more than the appearance. There's health concerns, so much more than just appearance. So what can we put on it to minimize
I
anything?
think the lights.
lights are the only thing that we can do for safety.
Anything that the future things that get put on it. I mean, it's comical that it's gonna help cell phone, whatever, but like, why do we have to put it by houses? There's so much land in Dickinson County. Like, put it somewhere that people aren't living underneath of it. Like, I get you guys are in a hard spot to try to determine this, but I wish we had some say since we live right there and the landowner does not. So I mean, I don't know, even with this other than we're 100% against it. And I see a lot of neighbors here and I'm hoping some others speak up tonight too. Thank you. Also, my other spokesperson's here too. She brings.
Missy Cole, 2255 Fair Road. How do we get to this point? how do we get to the point that landowners whose property values could be affected, who have health concerns, how do we get to the point that we don't have input? You're looking at an older couple. Both of us have cancer. I don't know that as a family, we're comfortable with some of the health hazards that come with that. Like my neighbor said, there's ground that's not close to houses. And when you invest in a property, you do so not realizing that your right to better its value will be taken away. So it's not just aesthetics, right? From my standpoint, it's my 40-year veteran husband's health. It's my health. It's not just health, it's property value. It's not just that, you're trying to grow your city. I moved to Abilene 35 years ago. I've seen a lot of changes come and go, been involved in some of them. If there's ever a question of the airport wanting to expand the runway, why are we shutting that down? The airport's there, they've been there. Why? How did we skip a step where we looked at, is there a secondary location? Is there a better location? Where is the communication between our city governments and your citizens? How do you build that rapport back up? How do you have these meetings in a bigger room with more people? Communication is just not there. I mean, we've been in our farm since 2008. We're currently looking at houses outside of Abilene. You don't want to do that to the younger people, because that's your future. Not me. That. All I got.
Steve Schroeder, live at 2253 Fair Road. My questions are more along the lines of how much traffic will be on the road and the maintenance of the facility. I'm just really glad it's not one of these electric windmills. But I just have more concerns over the traffic that are coming down the road and the maintenance of the facility. How much traffic will be coming?
Yeah, traffic, so 24/7 access. However, once it's built, all the upgrades, we can do most of them on a computer. Unless they need to, when we switch from 5G to 6G, they'll need to go up there and actually swap out new antennas. But other than that, you're not gonna have much traffic at all. To build it, it'll come in on 3 different semis and they'll put it up, all 3 sections.
And then the maintenance, groundskeeping,
No, they're gonna put the wing mat down and ground coverage, but they don't come out and spray yearly or anything like that.
Is this addressed in your,
Yeah, I mean, a
lease
lot of
agreement?
this too is written in the lease with the landlord,
Okay.
so he can give you a lot of that information. I can speak briefly on it, but that's a signed lease between that party and the landlord, so. It's a proprietary document I can't really talk a lot about. I can answer some general questions though if you have them.
no, those are the only 2 questions I have.
And then
Terry Swearingen, and the guys will be farmed around just like it is. They will put down ground sterile, they will put down mats where the guide wires hit the ground like any other you see anywhere else. The one over there on 14th Street isn't a guided tower. It's been there I have no idea when it was put up. I've been driving up and down that road. Up and down that road for over 50 years. That tower's been there. Anyhow, the guides, Jim or Steve will be going, we'll go down to the ground. They will take care of what's inside the guide. The rest of it will continue to be farmed. We'll take care of it. It's not like it's gonna be an overgrown mess. There's absolutely no reason to leave it overgrown. They're farmed around. You can drive right over to Solomon, look just right north of the interstate. That is a guided tower right over there off the Solomon Road. That is a guided tower. Justin Reynolds plants, I've seen plant silage around there where they're trying to cut it with a chopper 9 feet tall. So it can be done, it will be done. There's no reason to leave ground leave it lay, and it's not gonna be left to just grow up in weeds. That's what we will do with our.
And the location was more or less determined by the RF engineers at Verizon. They get coverage maps and find the dense areas of the overpopulated areas. This being one of those, and that's where they say we need a tower roughly in this little small radius. Can you find us a landlord put it here? So we can't move miles down the road or the coverage that we're needing isn't gonna suffice. The only way to then get that coverage would be making the tower a lot taller. So we can maybe move it 2-3 miles east, but now you're looking at a 500 to 600 foot tall tower to get the same coverage. And then I can't speak what's gonna happen down the line. If it gets more populated, then you might need one in the exact same location we're talking about now.
Was Verizon gonna be the only vendor?
Verizon's currently the anchor tenant. For your guys' ordinance as well as FAA regulations, the tower has to be structurally sounded for up to 3 carriers. So it will be built. There are anchors on it, 295, which is what Verizon will be at. There'll be another one, I believe, at 270 and then 200. So it will be structurally supported for all the other carriers. There's fiber to the site, so no micro dishes will be on it.
And this is the third site that we've looked at. Correct, we had 2 prior,
On this one,
no, separate CUPs. Are there any alternative secondary locations?
for this tower,
For
no.
this, there's no secondary whatsoever
There was
that would push further away from the city.
the one that Verizon needed, and that's their primary campus.
So when the RF engineers did their scatter plot, they didn't have any other plots.
No.
What makes the site special?
It's for the coverage from in the area,
Like
overpopulation.
elevation or?
Yeah, I mean, we should have maybe gone to the candidates to the south or the east, just had to be right around there, but none of them contacted us. The landlord that we're working with is the one that contacted us saying he's willing to work for us, so. Everybody else around said, no, we can't twist their arms and work with us. We're not gonna strong arm anybody.
Do you have safety data that you can provide the neighbors?
Yeah, I can definitely send Mr. Hamilton some information. We have reports that we ran for safety for RF, radio frequencies. And I can give you a study that we sent just recently did in St. John, for housing to show you the property values are not affected as well.
Just to be clear for the commissioners, per the Telecommunications Act of the that's
Can you
passed.
explain that a little bit for the audience that's here?
Yeah, in prior to 1996, counties and cities had a lot more authority. Had more home rule authority over the location of cell towers. But what happened was the industry in 1996 got with the federal government and kind of encouraged them to remove a lot of the what they would consider hindrances to putting up cell towers. And so what this federal government did is in the Telecommunications Act of 1996, they basically have in numerous updates since then have caused the cell tower, the local municipalities to gradually lose a lot of that home rule authority over the location of these cell towers and what we can actually regulate. So it's at the point now where the only thing we can really regulate is how far back from the property lines and structural type of members that are like the foundation and that sort of thing. But like I said, prior to 96, you can look back at some of our old regulations that we have here locally that prior to that period where it was just you could put you could require bonding and all kinds of things that you just can't do anymore. And so the only thing that we are limited to is, and you cannot, used to be you could regulate where it was located. You could say, we're not going to you're not going to locate it here because it's too close to residences or whatever. But that authority at the local level has been removed by the feds back in 1996. So.
And then the Kansas statute also did one in 2019.
Yeah.
KSA 60, yeah, which is supersedes it also.
For that, I'll let it keep going to public.
All right, yeah, thank you guys.
Anybody else have any comment from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Becky Bowler, and I'm Passion Powder. I spend a lot of time here. We actually think we want to retire to here and buy property. Things like this will keep people from coming. They probably want to get a house with that behind it. I grew up with a little 150-foot tower at a quarter mile from our house. Back in the 70s, it was a communication tower for KG&E, which is Kansas Gas and Electric. It had 2 little antennas for them to communicate together. In the years since, it was bought out by Westar, who then was owned by Evergy. You should see that tower. My parents are both dead. My mother, probably because of that tower, she had cancer in every lymph node from living that close that they put. You can say that it's only going to be a cell phone tower. It's not. Unless you're willing to sign a document, a legal document, that there will only ever be a cell phone tower. Did you know you're going to put microwaves and all the other things up on it too? Some of this stuff, including the 6G, is now capable of scanning people's homes through concrete. It looks like a night vision green block photograph. They're going to sell everybody's information. It's going to go along with the data center. And if he says it isn't, that's not true. But if it's so great, why didn't the owner of the property put it beside his house? He's safely living miles away from what he's going to put everybody into. There are children up and down that road. There are elderly people up and down that road. And it's going to be in those people's immediate backyard. When my daughter's right across the road from them. There are so many other ways to do this. The 6G scares the holy Jesus out of me. Because I've looked into it enough, I've done enough data center, solar, all of it. And the towers have been on our radar along with the transmission lines. And when you get one, you're going to get the rest of it. It's not just going to be a cell phone tower. He's already admitted to at least three things being on it. And it's not all going to be 3 separate cell phone carriers. It's going to be, everybody else is going to put something on it. They're going to buy that data. And I don't want to be scanned even when I'm just there for a few days or something. My grandson is obsessed with the airplanes and the flight and the whole prop duster thing. Those people aren't going to fly there anymore. I'm actually quite shocked that the airport is signing off on, and maybe they have no choice. But I agree that if there's potential of getting a longer runway, why would you say no to that? This will be, the way I looked this up, it doesn't get past, I don't know if it's getting zoned industrial, because it should be in an industrial park is where it should be. Safely away from people, because it is an industrial thing. This man, it looks like will be paid $50,000 to $150,000 a year for his rent, allowing it there. How about a signed document where all the neighbors get a couple thousand a month for their time and trouble? Is that something we can do?
You can talk to the landlord.
Well, Terry's learning again. I mean, if you'd like it in your backyard, you just stated that
backyard though, why not?
I tell you what, I own 450 acres around my house. If you wanna come up and put one up there, come on.
I've seen where you live and is about 3 to 4 miles away from the site roughly,
Right.
which is outside of the client's radius of where they do the coverage.
I will be more than happy to visit with you about one in my, but there's already one in my backyard. It has been there. It has been there on 2600 Avenue. Anybody that's gone down 2600 Avenue, I have no idea at what point in time when that actually was a microwave tower was put up straight south of my house. It has been there for my entire life. It has been there.
Microwaves are only used if fiber cannot get to site.
Right.
So microwave will talk to another microwave site that actually can get fiber to that site, to that microwave, to feed it to the other outlets so they can work.
But please don't think that I would not put one in my backyard because
You do that.
what's that?
I do
Okay.
think you would.
Okay.
You have to-
We can,
Yes, ma'am.
we can do this
No.
outside, out of
It
this.
just- it's
I
like-
realize
You need-
Second it.
Ma'am,
I
you need
get
to,
that.
you need to direct any comments.
to us.
I'm fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that.
But it, will the county receive any tax money from?
Yeah.
It's-
We are land
roughly
based only. We don't do
$150.
finances or anything. We are land based only.
But that should be part of the consideration. If there's nothing in it for the county, so just say no to it.
And just to kind of clarify again, maybe 35 years ago, we could have done something like that, considered those things, but because the federal government has basically enacted the Telecommunications Act of 1996, we're limited as to what we can do and consider for approval.
Everybody else just suffers it. Because who's gonna buy those homes with this? A lot of people know what 5G and 6G actually is, if that's all it was. I don't for a second think that's all it's gonna be. You've driven around, there's gonna be a big house with all the contents, and it's got a generator, and it's roaring noise. And there's just someone there all the time doing something. When I come up here, I drive by at least 6 of them that are right by the highway that have all this apparatus, there's pipes coming out, there's coolant, there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's nothing beneficial for anybody but one person. Everybody else gets to just live with it, I guess, or leave. And maybe he'll be willing to buy everyone's home. Land over there, because there's quite a bit of it. Just on that road, I don't even know what's on the other side of it, but he does have huge concerns. And will he be liable? This is an LLC. He's running an LLC, this is an LLC, limited liability. They don't take liability for anything that happens. People with more cancer, people with more doctors, people with more sleep disorders. It is all caused by, I just think it's entirely too close to town and 50 houses. And only people within 1,000 feet even know about it. The rest of the people don't even realize what's going on. I could talk to you for an hour about this stuff, but you don't want to listen to us, so. I think it's all I have.
Thank you.
We have another question if I can.
Real quick, please.
Just back to, since it's apparently happening no matter what we say. What again are the stipulations?
We only control lighting and maybe the guys.
The foundation structural, that's
Yeah.
the setbacks.
Yeah.
What comes off the antennas, we don't regulate, we don't regulate the location, we don't.
We really can't do anything because the Fed overrules us in this particular aspect. We can just do setbacks, lighting, and the guys,
So
and foundation.
what are our options for lighting? As far as like what do you mean by that, I guess, what,
Well, if there's,
So don't shine in your backyard.
well, I want that. Then yeah, no.
It might already be happening. I don't know.
Well, that's what, it doesn't sound like we have any choice of anything.
Anything over 200 feet per FAA needs to be illuminated. It's a pulsating red light at night and it's pulsating white LED during the day. Islands around.
We are a military flight path.
Yes, we are.
We're a big military flight path.
Goes over our house about every day. That's very concerning why
That's
FAA,
the facts that are required by FAA.
it shocks me that FAA approved this.
Well, is there anybody else that has any public comment? If not, I will close it and or discuss.
I have a question, young lady on the airport, so can you just expand on the potential, or the potential for the airport?
Yes, I can absolutely do that, so. I brought our minutes from that meeting that the BZA had back in July. So again, this needed a variance from the city because this parcel falls within the airport overlay district. That's the only reason they needed a variance with the city of Abilene. So like I said, the overall structure height is 305. We received documentation that we distributed to our BZA members. Those included the FAA's airspace analysis report indicating determination of no hazard to air navigation for the proposed tower. The airport board, staff liaison, and board member were in attendance and presented their meeting minutes from May 4th, indicating their approval of the variance request if the requirements for lighting and marking per the FAA report were met. So staff also on the inside here, we consulted with Diane Hooper, which is our airport lead with Olson Engineering, that's our city's engineering firm. Regarding the variance request, her response indicated the variance appears to be acceptable in this situation, provided the airport board is consulted and that the structure is marked and lighted in accordance with FAA's letter. So we have all of that. I'm not sure if Tim has that on file as well, but attaches a map of the airport overlay district and where that parcel falls into that. So that's why they had to increase. I believe our variance was for 62 additional feet for that. Let's see here. Let me see if I have. Tim, did you have the FAA's?
I've got their,
analysis?
I didn't get the analysis. I think you may have sent that to me and I just haven't, gotten it by email.
Yeah, the FAA, it's not gonna interfere with airspace navigation. They did coordinate with the airport board as far as any student training of flights that it would interfere with, it will not. Also, Jim Curtis. I don't think anything with the airport, I haven't spoken with him directly regarding this, but I wouldn't foresee the city master plan with the airport protruding that far out, that it would actually be an interference for future development. That's just off the top of my head. I haven't spoke to Jim Curtis about that, but that point was never brought up with our airport board members or staff even. So that hopefully that kind of clears up a little bit about the city's stance. So.
Question,
Yes.
Carrie. So during a meeting with the airport board, it wasn't brought up from any airport board member about an expansion of the airport.
That is correct.
Can I ask a question? Happy young lady. Oh, that's fine.
I should have given during
You
that.
know,
Sorry.
You've technically you've already closed that. public comment.
100%.
So where did the question or the concept come from that this tower would be a hindrance to future airport expansion if future airport expansion has never been a discussion?
I can speak to that. And because this goes back to when I was with the city of Abilene years ago. And I was helping them with their airport future master plan. This was way back, long before you got here. One of the things that Jim had brought up, Mr. Curtis, was that same thing about, okay, eventually we would like to have a runway, an extra runway out there. Well, and he even back then said it probably wouldn't happen, but it would be nice to have. So I think that's where that came from, because when I called him up after the application was submitted, he's the first one I contacted over there to see, and he's reiterated the same thing, but he says, it's probably not gonna really change anything, or, so that's it. He said he's brought up the same point about, okay, it would be nice to expand, but he's probably, but this has been already over 10 years, since the last time I spoke to him about it, so.
I think in a financial dream world it would happen, but I don't.
Yeah,
honestly-
and that's what he was trying to tell me, yeah. Yeah.
But as far as, airport expansion and whatnot, obviously back in May 2020, when the storm came through and knocked down all of our hangars, we are looking at, doing a new development of building 6 to 8 hangars out there, so there's progress out of the airport, but as far as an extended runway, I don't foresee, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the applicant and you, Tim. I remember when we were doing the wind farm. We asked Manel if they could implement the lights that come on when aviation is close and then shuts off after. Can we do that?
ACLS.
Or is that's
For
none of that?
FAA, we have to have it.
Okay.
eliminated
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I was wondering.
Yeah, that's FAA required. It's federal.
All right, cool.
It's also asked that it be lit.
Okay, okay. Know that.
Yeah, your ordinance also asks for it to be.
Okay, good, no.
Setbacks, conditional setbacks. Setback is tower height plus, okay. Correct.
I think it's tower height. Yeah. No, I don't know how you can probably think, because that's what our minimum is, if you want them to go a little bit further back. I don't know how feasible that would be for them, like, if you want to go back any further a little bit, like maybe 5 feet or something like that.
Yeah, we would have to pull a new survey, new need for environmental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve CUP 26-04 with the reference conditions, any final FAA and FCC approval submitted prior to a building permit being issued.
Second. It's been approved and seconded to CUP 26-04 with the staff recommendations of any final FAA and FCC approval submitted prior to a building permit being issued. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. We'll move on to old business B, text 26-02. Consideration feasibility of a potential amendment to Article 21 of the zoning regulations to address data centers as a conditional use. This evening, the commission will continue formulating a definition for data center facility in Dickinson County.
Right, so just for those of you that weren't here last month, at the July hearing, the initial discussion on establishing a definition of a data center, which would be an appropriate fit for Dickinson County, was considered. Staff emphasized the square footage or overall footprint should be included as basically a foundational consideration of any definition. One comment from the commission was that the energy consumption of the facility should be included in the definition rather than square footage. However, In our comprehensive plan, the agricultural, open space, and rural preservation goals outlined in chapter 7 of the comprehensive plan directs the county to protect and preserve the natural resources, the soil, water, wildlife habitat, etc. of the county. When considering the location of non-agricultural uses that would be commercial or industrial. However, the plan also puts considerable emphasis on impacts to the rural character of the county. And character, you could view character as something sensed, or in a land use or zoning way of looking at it is its vision. So such as the footprint of an industrial facility, the road. Details such as setting a limit on energy usage and water consumption best considered while reviewing an individual proposal. These parameters should not necessarily be included within the definition of a data center, since they tend to be project or site specific and would not have an immediate impact on the aesthetic of the county. The following information comes from a website that I found called programs.com and another website called cfm.com. Staff has highlighted the definitions of a small and medium-sized data center, since large and hyperscale facilities would not be appropriate for Dickinson County, as they may conflict with the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan. Now, before I go any further, I brought my future land use map to kind of show you what the comprehensive plan is referring to. Okay, so pardon the color, but this yellow areas in here that you see, these are areas that the comprehensive plan has to, the group that we had put it together years ago said these are the areas of most significant agricultural importance. Okay. Anything that's in this kind of lighter color is prime agricultural land. The green colors are areas where development could occur. So you would have, because these are along primarily the roadways, and so that's where your infrastructure would be, your electric, gas, everything else would be along there. So based on how our comp plan is written with the preservation goals, these the large facilities would not be a fit anyway for Dickinson County, because we have too much land that's of value over here that could potentially be impacted by a large scale facility taking up some. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that it's that the plan prohibits, but it discourages, I should say, putting anything of that scale in these areas. Someone could still request it, but they would have to have really proof that they're not going to adversely impact these areas. So the develop, where it says the green areas, these are development potential areas that's for residential, commercial, and industrial. So what you have to keep in mind is these would be potentially the best places to put one of those centers. However, this is why I was saying square footage is important, because if you put it closer to the roads, that may affect the character of the aesthetic of how the county looks. So you want to try to keep these, this is why I was emphasizing square footage, is you want to keep them as small. If we go with data centers, I'm not saying we're going to, I'm just saying theoretically, you would want to keep them smaller and closer to where the infrastructure is. So what I did on my options that I gave you was I basically gave you a definition of small or edge data centers. Those are usually under 5,000 square feet, designed for localized processing or caching near to end users, often supporting IT or specific enterprise need. And I also highlighted medium-sized data centers. Those are, range from 5,000 to 50,000 square feet, serving medium to large enterprises with multiple server racks and redundant or dedicated power and cooling systems. So what I did was I put together, again, large and hyperscale are not in the picture. So what I did was I developed a definition based on basically what was above, and also I gave you, I think at the last hearing, you guys had a definition from Dickinson County that I gave you guys. And so this is going to be based kind of off that plus this. And so what I did is I said the following are draft definitions which staff has prepared based on the above referenced definitions and the definitions of data centers currently under consideration in Wabansie. So under data center, I've got one or more buildings, including accessory structures and uses not exceeding a cumulative area of 20,000 square feet on a single lot, whether constructed simultaneously or as a phased project, which is primarily used to house a group of networked computers, servers for the storage, management, processing, conversion, and dissemination of data and information. This definition that I've just read off to you includes IT space and non-IT space. So that would include non-IT storage and that sort of thing. As opposed to the Wabansie County definition, which specifies 20,000 square feet of aggregate IT floor area, as I've defined it with the second definition below, which is information technology space, which is the gross floor area dedicated to housing, computing, storage, and networking equipment. IT space shall be measured as the horizontal area of all rooms and structures housing IT equipment. IT space does not include office or administrative areas, mechanical or electrical rooms, not hosting IT equipment, and loading docks, storage areas, parking, circulation, or support spaces not directly supporting computing operations. What I was going to say is, with that being said, I didn't know what your comments were from my reading that, or if you had a chance to read over this and some of the other materials that you were given last month. Do you all have any thoughts on that, on those definitions? That's kind of a start.
Yeah, I think they're good. I did some research of my own, and I apologize, I don't have a printout for everybody because I was using the company's printer. I didn't really want to waste all their ink and paper, but you two want to share that. And I can also forward the emails of the PDFs because it doesn't have everything on there. But those 4 documents have their descriptions of what a data center could be. We could utilize theirs as well for drafting ours. And I think also one of them is from a place in Oklahoma where they basically made, if we were to decide to start writing some regulations, they made a regulation that it's basically a fill-in. You can fill in your regulations of like setbacks and wattages and all that. So we could basically start getting a basis on stuff if we want to. So yeah, a framework of the regulation. So yes, sir.
I've done similar research, and we are definitely not the only county.
Right.
And the overload of information is real. But Butler County is one that I had printed off, and I didn't print it, but I can email it to everyone. And I see your definition of a data center, Tim, and I think it's a start. In many of the regulations that I've looked at and reviewed, and I can't list them all tonight, there's several, at least a dozen. What sticks out and in our speakers and hearing the public is there's the tiers of impact. And Where I'm at today is I would like to set a definition of a low impact data center. What does low impact mean? Right? It's not obtrusive to the character. It doesn't pollute the soil, the air, the noise.
You're looking at probably that first definition I gave you with small or edge data center. Is that what you're kind of looking at? The one.
I think square footage is absolutely a fundamental metric. But I question if that should be the only metric contained within the definition when we look in terms of impact. Because the reason why we're here is to protect the health, safety, and general welfare.
Right.
And I also don't know that I have the words put together yet for what I'm looking for.
But a lot of the details that you're referring to, size, wattage, and that sort of thing, and the water usage, all of that are very site specific. You can't just, those are things that you would have to look at. The applicant would have to prove to you
Right.
when they come and say, we're not going to be an adverse impact on water or any of the environmental stuff.
And it's also going to be a difference in what they could prove today and what they could prove in 5 years because technology changes. So I just question if locking into square footage gives the board the most flexibility to protect the safety of the county.
But the square footage, let me emphasize, again, our comprehensive plan says that it emphasizes that if you're the character, which emphasizing the aesthetic. So the smaller it is,
Agreed.
the less impact it's going to have
Today. But the impact of just pick a number, 10,000 square foot facility today might be negligible. But in 5 or 10 years, when they condense the chips down, it might be medium or high impact.
Or it could be, I'm not disagreeing
Or it
with
could
you,
be
it could be
lower.
lower.
It
because
could go either
take
way.
less cooling and less power, but
They could be very.
That's
why you could add, like we were discussing last week or last month, you can put more stuff inside of it. Possibly, you could fit more, like chips and all that, they get smaller, and I agree with you. But also, I think I realize where you're coming from, Tim, with the smaller. The smaller is fits
And I don't
our,
necessarily disagree with smaller footprint.
right,
I'm just looking in a long-term view of, we kind of see where the impacts are today, but giving this board flexibility to adapt to.
Well, so do I hear it say, you're saying that maybe a low impact, 10,000, I'm pulling a number out, 10,000 square foot, will use 10,000 gallon of water a day today. But in 5 years, it could use 100,000 gallon of water
Or it could use 100, we don't know.
or 100,
Right.
but that there needs to be more parameters other than just square footage.
Yes.
Tim is saying, well, then you do that on a specific project.
Right, you have
You put those parameters. So then we have to go through this every time. We can't put guidelines. General guidelines in the beginning.
It is in these types of uses, the applicant has to, you can put a minimum on there. You can say, okay, we're gonna be updating our regulations from now till eternity. So what I would say is keep it to square footage and let the applicant prove to you
But
what they are proposing. They've got, and if you're not convinced of it, you have the flexibility of saying, we don't want you here.
But remember the conversation of they don't always have their studies done when they come to us.
Right.
So they're asking you.
So, but then that's when you can say, hey, look.
But
See you later.
can you when the money's changed? I mean, this is the time where the pressure is off.
Right.
When the application is here, they're expecting an outcome.
so. I go real quick.
And the
Yeah,
outcome,
so with what-
and the outcome could be, no, we don't want it. That's the outcome.
With one of the handouts I sent, it was for the Lynn County and their regulations. This is a very possible small data center. I mean, it's kind of hitting a little bit of what you're saying. Small data centers means a data center that has an electrical design capacity of 20 megawatts or less, and that uses less than 50 gallons per minute of water or less than on an annualized basis. So I'm not saying we could or can, but we can basically regulate them to that 50 gallons. I feel like could maybe help us over years to come. Because if we set a gallon a minute or a gallon of water per minute, then in 100 years, if it takes 100,000 gallons an hour or whatever, if it goes up, well, they can't go up any. They have to stay within those guidelines.
You can
I
set,
guess that's what that would mean.
now you can set like a not to exceed number. If you want, and just say, and then that would probably protect you and say, okay, now the applicant's probably gonna say, still wanna say, hey, look, can you give me a variance to that, and you can just say no. So,
I think we need to talk more about water. And I think that's probably a topic in and of itself
yeah,
and power. But one night of water, just kind of roadmap, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but one night of water, I'd like to hear from City of Abilene, any of the water suppliers. Kansas Geological Survey has hydrologists who can walk us through, I know where my water comes from, it's 8 feet deep.
Yeah.
But in the comprehensive plan talks about the alluvial plain. And we also have to factor in the drought cycle and available water and water quality. Because as water supplies go down, so does quality. Quality concerns skyrocket. So,
can I interject
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick? Sand Springs is a big limiter
It
for where
is.
they're gonna be, yeah.
and I think it would be good to have an idea of what those limits are before we go down and say it's,
Yeah,
For sure. Well, water, energy consumption.
Right.
But before that, how about character?
how do you define character? That's one of those open lawyer terms that we could discuss all day.
Well, it's,
All day.
our comprehensive plan says character. And so we have been,
Reputation of the vendor. The applicant, reputation of the applicant,
Oh, yeah,
that's a real thing too.
well, I guess I was meaning character of our county and a
physical
building
aesthetic, yeah.
aesthetics. I wasn't meaning
Yeah, so like you're driving down,
character.
you're driving down 2400 and you look over and you see a giant,
Right.
Yeah.
So
So does height play in with your square footage?
height would,
Height, is that character? 3-story,
it's aesthetic.
it's aesthetic, yeah.
It's aesthetic.
what about density?
It's all part of what I was telling you about with the definition of IT space.
Oh, sorry, different density.
Population density.
No, density of structures in the landscape.
Oh, you're talking about the
You're
amount of coverage. The coverage,
The amount
total
of-
coverage.
just
of
how many
it.
How many buildings?
Yeah.
How big the roofs
Yeah,
are?
the total percentage of coverage.
Is that included in character? If I drive down 2200 going out of town. And I look and I see house, but they're sitting on a quarter. That kind of, that density of buildings
Right,
and density of cover, impermeable surface.
yeah, and.
Which affects your waters.
Right, and I think, I don't mean to throw another county under the bus, but there is another county that I'm familiar of that they only, and this is the county, this is not the city, they say you can only have so many square feet of accessory structures on your property. And so you could,
So do you say to preserve the character, the rural character is open space?
Yeah.
If you have a 80-acre parcel, only, 3% can be covered by a roof or a parking lot. Does that preserve character?
Not necessarily, you can have one ugly building on that 3%.
One next door building in that 3%, so how do we?
Well, that's why I thought
Right.
before water and before
Sure.
energy, let's talk about character and aesthetics. Because if we can't tackle that definition and put some parameters, water and energy don't make a dang.
And then with this one also has lighting plan, road use agreement, pre-construction noise analysis, water use agreement, emergency response plan, blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's all of these things.
That's about item number 500 to 700.
That we need to define and have expectations around before somebody even applies.
Well, that's why I was saying you could probably, once you get your definition down, then when you start looking at the details of, you know, water usage and all that other stuff as, you know, separate underneath it, that's a requirement that you would look at as a guideline for you guys and say not to exceed such and such per day, water usage per day, that kind of thing.
Who is do we have an industrial and hygienist?
We've got, well, we're jumping the gun here a little bit because I was gonna tell you, I may as well mention that to you. That was under item 6. In accordance with the comments that both staff and the members of the planning commission expressed at the July hearing, there's 2 things I wanted to point out. But I'll point out the one you just brought up, which is staff has secured at least one environmental specialist on data centers to present at next month meeting.
So I have a question for them. When you talk about aesthetics, in terms of building the data center, most of them are concrete, as I understand. You drive down the road, you see a metal work shed, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I would have questions around building materials, facades.
Yeah.
Would that reduce sound? Would that reduce the tonal vibration? I don't know.
I know that in Salina, I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you go down South 9th Street or South 9th, there's an antique gas station that's next to Dairy Queen, and they've got that's a data center. That's actually a data center. They've converted it. They've made it into a, you know, something that's aesthetically pleasing. So we could look at something like that too.
Can we implement that?
Those would be, what are they?
I mean, I don't think we need to make it look like a Buc-ee's or anything, but you know.
You can also like Camp's Furniture Mart, there you go.
Yeah. It makes it look like.
And it's aesthetics are important and character is important, but we also have the safety piece. The water quality, the heat island potential. And the sound.
The reading I've been doing, there's fair amount of just air cool. We're gonna be out in rural areas, cows probably don't care. There's a little fan noise. And you get away from the water, and we make air cooling one of our topics.
And heat capture.
Yeah.
I've got a cousin that works in heat capture and natural gas.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we burning the heat into the atmosphere?
What I would like you guys to do is, it sounds like you've got a lot of good questions. What I would like you to do is tomorrow, if you think about it, or sometime this week, forward me those questions that you have, and then that way I can kind of get with the people that are going to be talking next month, and so that they can get their ducks in a row with the people that they need to bring on board to talk. So I know the one guy is a water specialist and the other one is a sound specialist.
Okay.
So, but I wanted, if you guys can think of any questions, forward them to me, and I'll see if I can get with them and let them know to get ready that these questions are coming. So
I also had a thought with your chart. And the question is, what does a data center need? It needs fiber. Is there a way to find the fiber resources to overlay on the development to see if there are,
Are you talking about like, the current available fiber that's available? That's gonna be hard to do.
current resources.
That's gonna be hard to do because in the counties, basically what we do with our GIS. I think we have city utilities and things like that on there, but as far as utilities like specifically fiber and those kind of things, I can investigate and find out what
I mean,
layers we've got.
anecdotally, we have property that, if there's a house there to be served by AT&T, there will never be fiber there. Those areas
Yeah.
exist. It's not a developable area for this.
Well,
But then
Yeah.
where I live, we have Tri-County, and I don't know if that fiber would support it. But when we go to our models, we need to see where the intersections lie.
and I think I was reading, can't remember which one, but I was reading one of them and it basically said most data centers go closer to a bigger developed area, like Chapman, Abilene. Probably not Woodbine, maybe Harrington, just because the resources are close. They don't have to.
Until I get my robots that choose the leads and so does. And I need a data center at my corner for
Yeah.
latency, like that.
You're right.
And that's, I mean, that's also something we can, need to look at, what are the benefits, because the latency
Yeah, I guess I was also thinking,
Yeah.
and we were talking about larger ones, we're talking about.
Right.
So, yeah.
right, and that's what we're talking about, the smaller,
Mhm.
right, so,
And maybe we can create a draft definition off what Tim's got and update it every meeting. We think
right,
of
a working
something.
definition.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be set in stone right now,
No,
so we could,
Grow.
yeah, it can grow, it can smaller, probably, hopefully not, but
Do we
we can
have,
do what we need to.
is there some kind of projections for every square foot of data center will yield X number of dollars for the county per year? Gotta be some kind of equation out there that.
Well, if
They
it's,
did activate once, we don't get nothing.
well, only if it's a $250 million qualified under SB 98. What you really want is a $249 million data center. I mean, we're land use, we don't look at that, but with the people that look at the numbers.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, there's gotta be revenue for the county, and I'd be curious what that would look like for us.
Right. Is that why we're even considering it? Is that why we're even considering data center?
well, what started it all was the fact that you've got so many counties now. When I was at that conference a few months ago, that said, we need to start addressing this because you have Finney County that put in a gigantic one.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of counties that are trying to jump and get ahead of this thing. And before it gets, before somebody comes in and says, okay, well, we don't want, so they're gonna try to decide whether or not they want it or whether they don't want it and how they're going to, they want to customize it. If they, so like Wabunsee County, if they want to customize, a very specific size to define it as a specific size of data center, then they'll do that to help control the big ones from coming in.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's why this is all kind of.
Have we decided that, yeah, we want to go ahead and have a data center?
well, I mean, I don't
Or have
know.
we got there yet?
But we're there yet. And if,
Okay,
and
I agree.
and we all know this, but for discussion's sake, all we regulate is the unincorporated area. Right? Ag land.
Mhm.
So is a small one the best fit out in the country on ag land? Or are some of the incorporated cities a better spot because they're closer to utilities? We look at our map.
Yeah.
And what factors have we made, I mean, I know that's the general sentiment, but what are our defensible factors saying a large one is not suitable? Do we know that yet?
Well, I think it's basically in the comprehensive plan that it doesn't fit the character of
Right.
So if it doesn't fit
County.
the character.
a large one, but not.
Right, a large one, if a
Right.
large one doesn't fit the character, do we put that on the prohibited list?
So,
Yeah, I would,
just say no.
What's a large one?
Yeah, we got this.
Also need to come up with large, we need.
I've given you all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you started giving us definitions, or at least general definitions of what a large is.
I think what it comes down to is. And Tim has a great definition, but it comes down to future in 10 years. We went from a computer fitting in a room this size to a computer on our phones. I mean, and that was granted over a lot more years than. Some, but it just keeps getting.
It doesn't matter what the size is, there's still going to be, they require a conditional use permit.
Okay.
And they would still have to prove to you, even if it's smaller, they would have to prove to you that they would not have an adverse impact.
Right, but what if there was one that was, let's say we pass a regulation. And then 5 years later goes by, or that we pass regulation, a data center goes in, after that data center goes in. 5 years later, another one wants to come in and do the same exact footprint. But the technology within that has shrunk. So you can fit more. And maybe still do the same amount of gallons per minute and electrical.
Well, that's where you're
It's not
talking,
the same thing.
It
You're
would be more
talking-
electrical and more heat in
You're
this situation.
Possibly.
you're talking about IT space.
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to when I gave you that second definition, IT space.
Okay.
And so, so what I would recommend that you guys do is just like I say, if you got questions for these guys, next month, forward those on to me and I'll, see what I can, get them ready to answer those questions for you.
What happens when it becomes obsolete? If there's a building.
Decommission.
Well, there would be a decommissioning, that would be part of the regulation itself that comes after the definition, if we go that route. And these guys haven't decided that yet.
But if it's a bond, which is worth nothing for 1/10, 1% cost of tearing it down. Does that negate, the whole thing? We're not making money on it. There's gotta be an significant economic incentive.
The way,
All this crap.
Yeah.
Did I miss, did the SB 98 cover all sizes of data centers?
No, $250 million investment over 5 years.
So
Which
what's the square
includes-
footage then?
It
Just to probably have a big one.
It depends how much they pay for land, it depends how much they pay for the chips and all the cooling and generators.
They have incentive to get it up to that point.
So if somebody's company of his family wants to expand super huge because they're gonna go multi-state. And they're gonna employ 100 or 200 people now, are we gonna say okay to him and we're still dealing with
they would
this?
still have to go through a conditional use
I know,
permit.
but I just meant, we're gonna be ready for something else, we're kind of talking like this is the only business that's ever gonna come to Dickinson County. I mean, it's like, there could be another different idea in 5 days, it's a different industry altogether, are we gonna be open for them, or
We
we
just gotta do this. That's all it
Where
comes
that
down to.
might create a lot more jobs and economic impacts, that,
We already technically already have that in place to cover. It's just these specific uses like this that where there are no, this is brand new. There's really nothing to compare it to currently. It's sort of like the wind farm situation was. There's nothing to compare it to. And so we want to try to get ahead of it before, it gets, so at least give us something.
Economically wise, the wind farm, they said it'd be about 100 million in just assets that they placed out there. And it'd be another 150 million to put it up, was what their
Right.
projections were when we talked about decommissioning plan.
Mhm.
So if if there's tax abatements, if I'm understanding it right, if it's over 250 million. Is that correct?
Yes, investment.
Investment.
Yes.
Nobody in their right mind is gonna wanna build something smaller than that. They're gonna want to be a minimum of that size. Or figure out a way to get just over that threshold. And if that's the case, then where's the incentive for us? And I'm not being negative, I'm just saying, where is?
So SB 98 removes the sales tax. So if you figure half is to bland the building, the cooling, et cetera, and half are the chips, you wouldn't collect sales tax on the chip. That's what they're waiting.
You need the equipment.
Right, yeah, equipment,
Any equipment.
yes. So there are still taxes collected. If the governing body doesn't give them away in form of tax abatement, on the land and the building.
Like Kansas did on the pipeline,
Yes,
Nebraska did, South Dakota did, North Dakota
Right.
did. Kansas decided to.
but that, to me, the way I read SB 98, it's targeting larger than what our comprehensive plan lays out.
It would be the more money thing over 249.99 million.
Well, I think you ought to let the incorporated areas
We
be.
have one of our definitions to consider too big. Half joking, but half not.
Yeah.
Is that something we think about?
The,
Just tired of doing stuff for nothing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my township is always tied on money, my school district's always tied on money, the county's always tied on money, Martin's tied on money, the sheriff's tied on money. All of these businesses want to.
Put me in that.
Want to come, but I want them to pay.
Yeah.
From day one.
what you would do in those kind of situations would be just, if you're reviewing an application, you would tell the applicant, just say, let's say you approve it contingent upon it being them proving that they can be of an economic benefit to the county. I mean, that's the most you can do. You can't, I don't know how detailed you can get and specific you can get on a number, but you would have to be very general and say, okay, from an economic standpoint, it has to be a benefit to the county. If it's not a benefit to the county, then, it's,
Yeah, the attorneys will debate the word benefit all day long, like what debated the definition of the term is, so. Okay, appreciate it.
Is this an open forum type? Can I say something?
you can open if you want to open the.
Oh, I didn't want to, because, but at the end of the day, you guys are in a tough spot because you're a land use board. Like, that's the county commissioners prerogative of,
Yeah.
they're the ones that have to make those decisions for your economic drivers and whatnot. You guys just specifically have to look, is the land use,
Right.
Yeah.
that's a tough spot that you're put in.
Sorry, Commissioner, will change what.
I got raked over the coals for telling them that last.
And after that, I want to reiterate the word mention, maybe looking at, there's so much dead space and old buildings and what are big areas have been incorporated that, why put it on the agriculture land in this county where this is a prime county of land, if nobody understands that, pasture, crop, whatever. This is one of the best counties in the state. We don't need to be trashing it. But there's a lot of rehab that could go on inside 2 or 3 of the bigger towns in this county.
To your point that there's a data center and they dress it, make it look like an old gas station.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, Phil Kent furniture, it had furniture and then it didn't. And then it came back and put furniture in and then it was empty again. And now maybe they are selling out again.
I think it's for sale again.
But so, I mean,
And
there's an
we're-
example of a pretty good sized square foot
Or
building.
bowling alley.
Yeah, bowling alley, I mean.
big square footage area
Yeah,
there.
big square footage.
Sounds like you guys are palming it off on us.
That's right.
That's exactly. Don't be hiding behind that chair.
The last meeting, a lot of rain, happened a lot, had lots of tornadoes, so we don't want them, James, do we?
Well, and the thing that you have to keep in mind also is for definitions, especially if you decide in the end that you don't want it, it's not a fit for the county, then you'll have to make sure that the definition that you come up with does not exclude our servers here or the servers that the city has or the servers that you have to, you have to define. And so that's why I'm saying, so you can analyze if that's the case, if that's the route you're gonna go.
And I think everybody here, probably commissioners too, want economic revenue. We need either increase taxes, increase tax base, or cut services. That's your only options. So, we want to increase tax base, want to increase tax base, but if it's tax exempt, that's not increasing tax base.
And if it drives people away, it's in that place.
Yeah.
Because you can't turn on the news
Yeah,
anymore. So.
But we are land use.
We are.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're land use. Aesthetic character.
Or your character.
yes.
So, Annabelle Wheaton, Southbridge State, I moved here from Wyoming. Wyoming is having a lot of data centers going in constantly. Every time you go on Facebook or you read an article about it, there are problems that, well, this person didn't do this right, and now we have chemicals in our water. Like, you guys have a very important job to make sure that we're safe, and the commissioners have a bigger important job to make sure that they follow through with what you guys recommended. I feel like sometimes that isn't always what happens upstairs with your guys' hard work. We really need to be on the ball, and we need to pay attention to all the other things that are going on to help us weed through all this, because there's so many different people coming from many different sides saying different things. We need to remember what is actually physically what we can prove.
Part of this discussion that we're having today is at the direction of upstairs.
I know, I was there.
Taking back, I was gonna enter the record, so.
Barb, if you can scan and forward me what you've got, and Justin, if you can do the same.
Yeah. Can I just email you the PDF?
Yeah.
Cause I didn't print off
And I can enter that in the record.
as necessary.
You want some back?
I'll get those ones. Yeah.
You have one set, two sets.
I have technically 30, so someone wants to keep some, right in.
If you just wanna email.
Yeah, and I was gonna give it all. Yeah. Okay, so do we have what staff like to do?
Well, you can just say table and continue to the next.
I think send him questions so that
Yes,
he can
yes.
know what to the.
I
Yes.
can enter those into the.
And next month is a presentation.
Hoping I can get my, because I talked to them last week, and they said they're willing to do it. They haven't changed their plans, so I'll have to call first thing.
If you can find an expert on air coolers, I'd really like to learn from that.
Heat transfer, air cooled heat transfer.
Yeah.
Capture.
After the heat.
Capture the heat, reuse it.
We need a motion to table.
Chairman, I move that we table TXT 2602 for further study.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'd like to second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to,
I do have a comment before we vote. When we table this for further discussion, And we also continue to have open public discussion.
Yes.
Each time.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we just, I would like that.
What we've done is when we update, this isn't the comprehensive plan, but when we update a comprehensive plan. And it's, the public is free to make comment. I kind of treated this the same as like updating a comprehensive plan.
Good.
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to table text 26-02 further study. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
And the only other thing that I've got is under miscellaneous, I had brought up, I think, Martin, I think you had mentioned it to me. And also, I think I mentioned it to Barb as well last month, that the planning commission had expressed at the July hearing that consider a change in the status for Airbnb facilities from a conditional use to an accessory use administratively approved by staff. I was gonna try to bring that next month, if that's okay, as a resolution. Just all I'm doing is just taking Airbnb from the conditional use list and putting it in a accessory.
With that, we'll move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion?
So can I ask a quick question then? So is that making that an administrative? Is that usual and customary, Saline County and Putnam County?
Yes.
Erie County, that's how they do it. They make it a administration.
If it is a single family home.
Okay.
That is being used as an Airbnb.
Okay.
And there's no other like cabins or multiple family type thing, because there's people who will have like own a single family home and then rent that out to somebody if they're not there, like a summer home or something like that. And then, and those are like Airbnb type things that they can rent, short-term rentals.
So there's some distinguishing factors then
Yes.
on the size of those Airbnbs that you will manage, and the ones that are outside of that will come back to us.
So like, as an example, Mr. Schooley's, that was, you guys heard, in the one last month as well, were single family homes. And so that would be the limiting factor. If it's, as long as it's a single family home, owner occupied or owned by somebody that's, using that as a short-term rental, that's acceptable. But if it's like multiple cabins or multiple, like they're turning an accessory building into an additional living space for that, then they would have to come in front of you. Okay. Thank you.
So quick. Okay. Moved and second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Post same sign. Pass.